quite a lot. And my thoughts took me back to 2021 or 2022 when I wrote, I think that should be on Twitter, about the coming, what will be the coming information battle. And we are right in the middle of the information battle. It is very subtle, but it's very, very evident, at least to the eyes that can see, right? And you know, particularly hastened because of AI, right? Generative AI came and disrupted and is still disrupting the world. So just as we had in the Gregorian calendar, we have BC, right? And BC before Christ, COVID now introduced BC before COVID, right? Because after COVID, life was never the same. So similarly with generative AI, the moment ChatGPT became mainstream until now, there's now life before generative AI and there's life after it, right? And we are fast running to AGI, as the case may be, or maybe singularity, depending on whether or not you believe in these things, right? Yeah. But that aside, just thinking about it, right? The information battle is basically the battle for truth, right? And the battle for facts. Oftentimes people confuse between truth and fact. The fact that something is a fact does not necessarily make it true. And if there's anything talking about AI, quantum mechanics, which has now become mainstream, sort of has come to show us really that life is not some binary experience where we have left or right, black or white, right? That in some cases, in fact, in most of the cases, right, life is a beautiful combination of paradoxes. And I think the more one understands the paradox in life, no, I am deviating. Yeah, so back to information battle, right? When it comes to information battle, it is a battle of facts and truth. So you have to be able to discern between what is a fact and what is the truth, because truth are factual, right? But not every fact is a truth, is the truth. The perfect example for this, for me, for those who are conversant with the story of Joseph in the Bible, right? It was a fact, right? Given the report of Potiphar's wife that the young man Joseph slept with her because she had the evidence, right? Somebody will say that the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. Or how is it, right? So that was a fact. She had the fact, right? But that wasn't the truth. So what will characterize the information battle, right, is we will have what society or popular culture at least has held as true for the longest time. I mean, for decades, if not centuries, will be contested at on a global platform. Like what we saw with LGBTQ plus is a different ball game. But today we will see things that people have held true, even as far as their faith is concerned, will be contested. All right. And one of the supporting argument, or the major supporting argument that people will have, is that, oh, research has shown that this and this is true. Research. So people will often be making commentaries, doing interviews, TED Talks, possibly giving keynote speeches and saying research, research, research. But guess what? People will not even tell you what research. And uh, generative AI now has made information or knowledge very cheap, right? So everybody can pose as an authority. What are those days when authority used to be institutional, right? But today authority is simply just anybody with a smartphone can take on the persona of an authority, right? Because knowledge is now cheap. What is not cheap, however, is the interpretation and domain expertise of knowledge. That one will always not be cheap. So even those that will thrive in this AI world are those with domain expertise that can leverage the tool of AI and with that interpret data outcomes and produce what has not been from 0 to 1, or differently what has been from 1 to infinity, right? So the question is, even research data does not lie. Research does not lie. However, researchers lie, right? In fact, the AI that we have now, people are finding that oh, it's actually stereotypical because it depends on what it has been trained on, right, which can be biased. So when people say research has shown that A, B, C, or true, you need to critically think. And what does that mean? You need to ask some questions. What research? What was the purpose of the research? Was it a peer review research? Was it published, for example, right? And when it comes to the data, what does it entails? If, like, what is the sample size, what is the population? These are things that you need to begin to ask yourself, because the fact that somebody says a research has shown that A, B, and C is XYZ does not necessarily mean that that is the truth, right? That is just one. That is just one. So you will hear people say research has shown that this and this and this, but what is the research? Can they provide evidence? Even when the evidence of the research is provided, who did the research, for what reason? Because, like, there are things that we see in movies that we take for granted, right? An institution or an individual can pay for a research to be done just so to propagate a particular ideology, right? And information, data in today's world is the new oil, right? So anybody that can control the narrative will basically win the war and the battle altogether, right? So be careful what you consume out there. Be careful what appears to be authority. Be careful what you believe, right? That the thing is, the fact does not mean that it is the truth. For example, you can feel some type of way, and because of how you feel, so guess as to what could be the problem with you, right? But a doctor who can run their diagnosis and say that, oh, while what you feel is the fact, the truth of the feeling you have is this, right? So be careful out there, because it's going to be fierce increasingly. Cheers.